The salt that refused to die. How the world's most unwanted waste could become one of humanity's cleanest energy sources. A waste problem hiding in plain sight. Every day, across the dry coastlines of the world, giant desalination plants swallow seawater and spit out fresh drinking water. In places like Saudi Arabia, Singapore, Israel, and parts of California, these plants are becoming lifelines. But there is a darker side to this miracle. For every liter of fresh water produced, desalination creates a thick, bitter leftover called brine. Water so salty and chemically concentrated that it can suffocate marine life when dumped back into the ocean. Scientists have described it as an environmental time bomb. Worldwide, desalination plants produce enormous amounts of this toxic byproduct every day. And the scale is becoming staggering. As of 2026, the world produces more than 142 million cubic meters of brine every single day. If left unmanaged for a year, that volume could cover the entire state of Florida in a foot of salty sludge. Meanwhile, the global desalination industry is expanding at nearly 10% annually. Meaning the brine crisis, and the opportunity hidden inside it, may double every decade. For decades, humanity treated brine as garbage. Now, something extraordinary is happening. Researchers, engineers, and startups around the world are beginning to look at brine differently. Not as waste, but as treasure. Hidden inside this salty sludge are minerals, chemicals, and even forms of clean energy powerful enough to reshape the future. The world may be witnessing the second life of salt. Salt returns to history. There is something poetic about it. For centuries, salt was one of the most valuable substances on Earth. Ancient Roman soldiers were sometimes paid with salt. Entire trade routes were built around it. Wars were fought over it. Then, in the modern era, salt became ordinary, cheap, overlooked, almost invisible. But now, in an age haunted by climate change and energy anxiety, salt is quietly returning to the center of human survival. And this time, it may help save the planet. The day salt became a battery. One of the most promising ideas comes from a strange scientific principle called osmotic energy. It sounds complicated, but the concept is surprisingly simple. When fresh water and highly salty water meet, nature tries to balance them. That movement creates pressure and energy. Scientists realized that if they could control this process, they could generate electricity from the difference between the two waters. In other words, salty wastewater could become a battery. Technologies such as reverse electrodialysis, RED, and pressure-retarded osmosis, PRO, are already turning this idea into reality. And now, for the first time, this is no longer just a laboratory dream. In August 2025, the Memezapia Desalination Center launched one of the world's first osmotic power facilities. Connected to the commercial grid, the plant uses the salinity difference between concentrated desalination brine and treated sewage water to generate electricity. Its annual output, roughly 880,000 kilowatt-hours, is enough to power around 300 homes, simply by mixing two waste streams. That detail feels almost unbelievable. Humanity has spent centuries searching for fuel in forests, mountains, and underground oil fields. Now engineers are generating electricity from the leftovers of wastewater. Even more remarkably, new membrane technologies developed in 2026 have pushed efficiency rates close to 90% utilization, allowing these systems to produce stable power around the clock. Something solar and wind power still struggle to achieve during cloudy or windless periods. Salt is beginning to behave less like waste and more like infrastructure. Brine, the new oil of the electric age. Scientists are also discovering that brine contains valuable materials desperately needed for the green economy. Lithium, magnesium, potassium, bromine, and rare earth elements can all be extracted from concentrated desalination waste. These materials are essential for batteries, electric vehicles, solar panels, aerospace technology, and modern electronics. In many ways, Desalination plants are beginning to resemble futuristic mines. Except they do not dig into mountains. They mine the sea, and the economics are changing fast. By 2026, experts project that more than 60% of the world's lithium supply could come from brine extraction, rather than traditional hard rock mining. Modern direct lithium extraction (DLE) methods can recover lithium at costs between $3,500 and $4,400 per ton. While conventional mining operations often exceed $9,000 per ton, the implications are enormous. Lithium mining in places like Chile and Argentina has triggered environmental concerns over water depletion and ecosystem damage. Brine extraction offers the possibility of obtaining critical battery materials from existing waste streams, instead of ripping open new landscapes. A fascinating example is unfolding in Europe. The EU-backed C4 Value project has demonstrated the recovery of 9 critical minerals from desalination brine, including scandium, used in aerospace alloys, and rubidium, essential for advanced sensors and electronics. It is a remarkable reversal. Humanity may finally learn how to create abundance, without creating another environmental disaster. The desert cities betting on salt. Perhaps the most dramatic story comes from the Middle East. NEOM, Saudi Arabia's futuristic smart city project rising from the desert, has invested heavily in advanced brine management systems. Engineers are experimenting with technologies that aim for zero liquid discharge, meaning almost nothing is wasted. Minerals are harvested, water is reused, and leftover salt is transformed into industrial materials. Imagine that for a moment. A desert city where even wastewater becomes valuable. A place where the byproducts of survival become the fuel for the future. It sounds impossible, yet pieces of it are already happening. In early 2026, companies like Veolia and Aquatech introduced next-generation zero-liquid discharge (ZLD) systems, capable of converting the very last drops of brine into solid industrial salts and recoverable minerals. The goal is simple but revolutionary. Nothing goes back into the ocean. At the same time, new offshore floating desalination projects launched in 2026 are exploring ways to process seawater directly at sea, using natural deep ocean pressure to reduce energy costs while improving mineral harvesting efficiency. The future desalination plant may not look like a factory. It may look like a floating resource refinery. Salt caverns and hydrogen dreams. Meanwhile, in the United States, companies are exploring another astonishing use for salt: hydrogen storage. Green hydrogen is often described as the clean fuel of tomorrow, because it produces only water when used. But storing hydrogen safely is extremely difficult. The gas is highly flammable and requires special conditions. The solution may lie underground. Texas Brine, together with Mitsubishi Power, is transforming underground salt caverns into giant storage chambers for green hydrogen. Salt formations are naturally stable and airtight, making them ideal for storing energy produced by renewable sources like wind and solar. In many ways, these underground caverns function like giant shock absorbers for the electric grid. When wind farms generate excess electricity late at night, that surplus power can be converted into green hydrogen and stored deep inside the salt caverns, until cities need the energy the next day. So now, salt is not only helping generate energy, it may also help store it. The difficult road ahead. Still, this revolution is far from easy. The technology remains expensive. Advanced membranes used to separate minerals from brine are difficult to manufacture, and often struggle under extreme chemical conditions. Some systems require enormous amounts of electricity, raising difficult questions about cost and efficiency. There is also the problem of scale. Humanity produces staggering quantities of brine every day. Turning all that waste into something useful will require massive investment, political support, and years of technological progress. But history shows that major transformations often begin with ideas. That sounds unrealistic. Solar panels were once dismissed as impractical toys. Electric cars were mocked for decades. Wind energy was considered unreliable fantasy. Today, they are reshaping the global economy. Brine may follow the same path. The salty gold rush. There is another reason this story matters so deeply. Climate change is tightening its grip on the planet. Droughts are becoming more severe. Freshwater shortages are spreading. By 2050, billions of people could face water stress. As nations build more desalination plants to survive, the brine problem will grow alongside them. Unless we rethink what waste really means. That is the true heart of this story. The future may belong to societies that stop throwing things away. The old industrial model treated nature like a machine. Take resources, use them, dump the leftovers. But the emerging circular economy asks a different question. What if every output could become a new beginning? Researchers now estimate that fully circular desalination facilities, plants that sell fresh water, harvested minerals, and osmotic energy together, could become 30–40% more profitable than traditional desalination plants that only sell water. The irony is beautiful. Salt was once currency in the ancient world. Now, after centuries of being treated as worthless waste, it may become profitable all over again. The salt that refused to die. And maybe there is something hopeful hidden inside that transformation. Human civilization has always advanced by learning to see value where others saw nothing. Oil was once useless black mud. Silicon was ordinary sand before it became the foundation of the digital age. Now humanity is staring at another overlooked substance flowing silently back into the sea. Salt. Not glamorous, not beautiful, not rare, yet possibly one of the most important materials of the 21st century. For years, desalination plants were built to rescue us from thirst. Now their discarded leftovers may help rescue us from an energy crisis too. The world spent decades trying to get rid of salt. But salt, it seems, was not finished with us yet.
It's time to study new words in context. 1. Desalination. Definition: the process of removing salt from seawater to make fresh water. Example: many dry countries use desalination plants to produce drinking water. 2. Brine. Definition: very salty water, especially the leftover water from desalination. Example: the factory released brine back into the ocean after making fresh water. 3. Suffocate. Definition: to stop someone or something from getting enough air or oxygen. Example: too much pollution in the water can suffocate fish and plants. 4. Staggering. Definition: extremely large, shocking, or surprising. Example: the city spent a staggering amount of money on the new water project. 5. Sludge. Definition: thick, dirty, wet waste material. Example: workers cleaned the black sludge from the bottom of the tank. 6. Haunted. Definition: deeply troubled or affected by something painful or frightening. Example: many people are haunted by fears about climate change. 7. Osmotic. Definition: related to the movement of water between two liquids with different salt levels. Example: scientists studied osmotic energy to create electricity from salt water. 8. Salinity. Definition: the amount of salt in water. Example: the salinity of the ocean is much higher than that of river water. 9. Membrane. Definition: a very thin layer or material that separates two things. Example: the membrane in the machine helps remove salt from seawater. 10. Implication. Definition: a possible effect or result of an action or decision. Example: the new discovery could have major implications for clean energy. 11. Depletion. Definition: the reduction or using up of something important. Example: water depletion is becoming a serious problem in dry regions. 12. The circular economy. Definition: a system where materials are reused again and again instead of being thrown away. Example: The circular economy encourages companies to recycle waste into useful products. 13. Discarded. Definition: thrown away because it is no longer wanted or needed. Example: the factory reused discarded materials instead of dumping them.
Comprehension questions. 1. What is desalination? Answer: desalination is the process of removing salt from seawater to make fresh water. 2. What is brine? Answer: brine is very salty leftover water produced during desalination. 3. Why is brine called an environmental problem? Answer: brine can harm marine life when it is dumped back into the ocean. 4. How much brine does the world produce every day as of 2026? Answer: the world produces more than 142 million cubic meters of brine every day. 5. What is osmotic energy? Answer: osmotic energy is electricity created from the difference between fresh water and salty water. 6. What technologies are used to create electricity from brine? Answer: reverse electrodialysis, red and pressure, retarded osmosis, pro are used. 7. What happened at the Mamazupia Desalination Center in Japan in 2025? Answer: it launched one of the world's first osmotic power plants connected to the commercial grid. 8. About how many homes can the Japanese osmotic power plant supply with electricity? Answer: it can supply electricity to around 300 homes. 9. Why is lithium important in the article? Answer: lithium is important because it is used in batteries for electric vehicles and clean energy technology. 10. What is direct lithium extraction, DLE? Answer: DLE is a modern method of removing lithium from brine more cheaply and efficiently. 11. What is the C4 Value project? Answer: C4 Value is a European project that recovers important minerals from desalination brine. 12. What does Zero Liquid Discharge, ZLD, mean? Answer: ZLD means a system where no liquid waste is released back into the environment. 13. How are underground salt caverns used for green hydrogen? Answer: they are used to safely store green hydrogen energy underground. 14. What does the article mean by the salty gold rush? Answer: it means salt and brine are becoming valuable resources again, because they can create energy and useful minerals. 15. What is the main message of the article? Answer: the main message is that waste brine can become a valuable resource for clean energy, minerals, and a more sustainable future.